Hello YouTube, welcome to this class where we are going to learn how to release the pelvic floor, because we want a strong pelvic floor, but there's no use having a strong pelvic floor if you don't know how to release it. So we need it to be flexible as well. So it's going to be a really chilled class. The only thing you might need is a block, which we're going to use in yogi squat, and we're going to get going straight away. So you're going to bring yourself down into a yogi squat. You can absolutely have your heels lifted or have them down. And if you want to, you can place a block underneath your sitting bones. And I want you to take a moment to notice your breath. And I want you to imagine you are breathing downwards. So as you inhale, imagine your pelvic floor lengthening. This position is really great because it lengthens the pelvic floor naturally. Also allows us to put our brain into that area. And just imagine it dropping down. So if you find this pose really effortful, I would say definitely grab a block or a cushion to sit on. And then close your eyes. And as you inhale, feel the belly, the ribs, all the way up to the chest. 360 breath. Exhale, fill it, melt back to center. And then keep that 360 breath, but visualize the pelvic floor area and breathe it down towards the yoga mat. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Inhale. Exhale, let it go. Keep breathing just like that. Breathe in. And release. And again, breathe it in. And then let it go. Slowly sit back onto your sitting bones. Remove any prop if you have it. And you're going to come into a Sphinx pose. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about why we're doing this. So you're going to come down onto your belly. You're going to bring your forearms parallel and flat on the mat. And you can let your head go if you want to. And all I want you to focus on while we're doing this posture is notice if you're holding on to your abdominals or your glutes, and actively let these areas go. So closing your eyes can be really helpful because it allows you to really tune in. And basically, to give you a little bit of a taster of information, and we've done a whole video on this, which is going onto our channel and will be up soon. But our pelvic floor is part of our deep core, and it works with our diaphragm. So when we breathe in, our diaphragm contracts and moves down, and our pelvic floor naturally lengthens. And then vice versa, when we breathe out, our pelvic floor contracts and our diaphragm goes back up. But what happens is, whether through stress, whether through wanting kind of washboard abs, even through yoga classes, some teachers teach Mula Bandha or Uddiyana Bandha continuously throughout the class, we cling on. And what happens when we cling on is we get this really short muscle. I always use the bicep as an example. If you want a strong bicep, you'd never contract it and then hold it like that around through the day. And the pelvic floor is the same. So doing these things now helps us to learn how to release. Now do one more breath, really noticing, are you clinging onto the abdominals? Are you clinging onto the glutes? Nice. And then come down onto your belly and roll onto your back. And we're going to take this into happy baby. So lots of different options. You can take hold of your thighs if you wish. You can take hold of your shins, or you can take hold of the outer edges of your feet. You can even have a little rock from side to side while you're in your happy baby. Now you want to visualize your sitting bones, those bony bits that you sit on. And as you inhale, imagine they are widening apart. And again, come back to that 360 breath. So you feel the belly, the ribs, the chest expand on the breath, 360. So you feel yourself breathing into the floor. And again, visualize that lengthening of the pelvic floor, that opening of the sitting bones. And one piece of advice that I'd give every single person watching is check in throughout the day. This was one of my bad habits, that I realized that I was holding my tummy in and I was holding my core continuously and I didn't realize. So just even setting a little timer reminder, or however you need to remember, just keep checking in and then actively soften that area. So last couple of breaths here as you inhale again, you're lengthening, visualizing those sitting bones widening. Last inhale. And exhale, release. Slowly let it go. And we're actually going to come back onto our bellies. And then you're going to push back into child's pose. The knees can be wide, the knees can be together. You can grab pillows for underneath your torso if you want to make this really restorative. And the same cue works for this one. So again, that 360 breath, maybe even imagine my hands are on your back ribs, behind your belly button even, and you're breathing into those imaginary hands. And again, you're feeling that widening of the sit bones. You're visualizing that lengthening of the pelvic floor and widening of the sitting bones. Maybe make a little pillow for your hand, for your head with your hands even. And just focus on letting go. And if you are one of those people that holds lots of tension in this area, please know that it's common. Other people do as well. It's really common, and it's just noticing. Like, you know, perhaps you learned something today and now you've learned some techniques that you can use to help. So there's no panic at all. It's just teaching yourself again how to let go, how to let your system work as it's meant to work. 2 more breaths here. Now, one last inhale, breathe it in. Feel that widening of the sitting bones. And exhale, let it go. The last thing we are going to do together, we're going to do it in lying, but this is something you can do at your desk. Seated on a chair. You can even do it standing if you wish, but come onto your back. Bring your feet flat on the floor so the knees are bent, and then kiss the knees together. Now, bring your hands, use your hands for feedback. You can either do one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest, but it can be quite nice to kind of cup your real lower ribs for this one. We're breathing, continue to breathe in and out through the nose. And as you inhale, feel that 360 expansion. And exhale, feel it melt back. Continue to breathe just like that. So feeling the 360 breath. And then feeling that slow exhale melt back to center. And just like all the other postures, bring your brain now into your pelvic floor area. And notice, are you holding, are you clinging on? Can you visualize that lengthening of that muscle? Three more times together, breathing in. And letting go. Breathing in. And letting go. Last time, breathing in. And slowly release. Blink the eyes open. Rock and roll up to a seated position or stay lying down. I hope these were helpful. If you do find that this is an area that you cling to, doing this regularly 2-3 times a week will be really, really beneficial. And as I said, just keep checking in. When am I clinging on? Actually, can I release? And learning how to do that, to basically breathe with your diaphragm, is really important because you're learning those mechanics that I talked about. So when the diaphragm goes down, the pelvic floor lengthens, and as you exhale, the pelvic floor lifts and contracts. as the diaphragm comes back. I really hope that was helpful. As I said, there's a full length video coming onto the channel about this, and any questions, please just drop them in the comments, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. We're going to do a hamstring hacks class, and I can't wait. Bye, everyone.